Good morning, everybody. So welcome to See More People. And every Tuesday now, we're actually having a marketing expert coming on, an entrepreneur, a person that does marketing and makes it their life to actually generate leads so their business succeeds. Now, we've got four different types of experts, and what we've endeavored to do is to find the best of the best and for them to come and share some of their experiences. It's all well and good to have training, isn't it? But sometimes if you're not actually having different flavors on how to do things a little bit differently, I find it we get locked in one way and we don't have a broad brush. Then you can take the best and lead the rest. And today I've got a very close friend, an absolutely superstar in business, Jamie Hayes. And Jamie is an entrepreneur. Has been in business for many, many years, has bought and sold lots of businesses, and they've all been extremely successful. Currently, he has three companies that he's driving marketing, and he's a constant student on making sure that he learns all the newest things. I ring him regularly, and he's on a conference call with Google or Facebook head office or whatever the case may be. And I've got to go, Steve. I've got to learn how to do my marketing. So who else better than actually to help everybody with their marketing than Jamie Hayes? So welcome, Jamie. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Steve. And look, thanks for saying those kind things. But listening to you say that I would have said I need to learn this, now I've discovered how perhaps I was wrong. But we'll get into that and explain why.
Well, today we've got a great topic. It's how to overcome marketing procrastination. And I must say, everyone wants to do the marketing, but sometimes they go into rigor mortis because they don't know what to do. They've listened to a video or they've read a book, and then they go to try to do it and it doesn't work, and they don't have the Kentucky Fried Chicken mentality where we'll try it lots of time, or the Thomas Edison process, or keep giving it a go, because when we fail, it tends to give us a little bit of a, how can we say, a knockback, and then we'll just generically say it doesn't work, and then nothing gets done. So I think it's a great thing to be talking about, because everyone needs to market to generate lots of leads, and the challenge is, how do we do it? So over to the maestro.
All right, Steve. Now, do you mind if I share my screen?
Love you too, mate.
So today we're talking about an incredible concept, which is using the who, not how framework. And just from the outset, look, I'm going to say, as part of the learning experience, one needs to be able to ask for help. And so right now my face looks like crap because, I've been going through some treatment for sunspots and things like that. But as the great master said, the show must go on. So let's have a look. So I've been very influenced by this book, and I'm a big follower of the podcast, multiple podcasts of Dan Sullivan and Ellen, my wife. Her favourite author, or one of her favourite authors, Dr. Benjamin Hardy, a psychologist. Anyway, they got together, and Dan had an idea for this book, Who Not How. As a matter of fact, Benjamin Hardy heard Dan talk about this concept, and he said, and they got together and they said, gee, this is a great idea for a book. But guess what? Dan Sullivan doesn't write big books like this. He actually writes little books, but not big books like this. Well, it's actually not a super big book. As a matter of fact, there it is right in my hot little hand. And so he needed a who. He got together with Ben Hardy, who's a book writer, and said, you'd be the perfect person to write this book. But Ben Hardy, who could write the book, he didn't have a publisher, so they found Tucker Max. And so Ben Hardy needed a who to make it happen. And the funny thing is, if you actually listen to this on Audible, which is absolutely fantastic, these two, at the end of every chapter, get into a bit of a banter. And what I learnt was that Dan Sullivan didn't write a word of this book. Here he is co-authored, but the entire book was written by Benjamin Hardy. So Dan Sullivan came up with the idea, but he didn't know how to write a book like this. So he asked himself, who can write it, and came up with Benjamin Hardy. So they really did practice what they preach. So, fantastic story. Now, let's have a look. Let's say, Steve, or whoever's watching, you've got a what in your life, which is what you'd like to achieve. And maybe, oh God, here we go. It might take 6 months, 7 months, 9 months, 12 months, or forever to figure out the how. Now, here are some possible what's for people in the fitness business or any other business. Could be increase leads and sales. Here we go, let's try this. Increase leads and sales. Have online programs to sell online programs. Have programming to attract untapped market segments to grow your business. Run Facebook paid traffic ads. You'd like to do it, you just don't know how. Run effective organic traffic promotions. And definitely, if people haven't watched Richard's sessions, they need to go back and watch those. Or figure out how to get any of the above done. These are what's. People have got this queue up. Oh, I need to do this, I need to do that. But what they should be asking themselves is not how, but who. Because if they did, if they waited until they figured out how to do it themselves, it might be 12 months down the road. But if they got a who was skilled and experienced and had the time and expertise to do it, they might achieve it in 4 weeks or 8 weeks. And the difference between these two, the 2 weeks and the 12 months, is missed sales, missed revenue, frustration, stress, and even business risk. And the exciting thing is, if you change your marketing mindset, so rather than thinking, how do I do that? And your list might be different. Whoever's watching, they might have a different list, but they're a pretty good list, particularly number one, increase leads and sales opportunities. If you've got a who that can do that for you, then you're free to ask yourself a new what. So, you've got, incredible, growth potential simply by changing your mindset.
Are you we talking here about maybe getting somebody who's an expert in their field? I find that sometimes we go to learn things because we want to try to save some money and so forth, but really time is money, and we sometimes learn it, do it wrong, and then have to then get an expert to fix it. And I think what we're saying here is that you find out who can help you, who can actually do it, you outsource it, and then you'll get your outcome much faster. And when you pay for quality, you only cry once. But when you try to push it out and make the mistakes, you cry a million tears. It's just like when you buy the cheap one, isn't it?
Absolutely. And Steve, how long have you been learning and refining and mastering sales?
A whole lifetime, and it's a never-ending story. And I just love actually going on to other webinars and seminars and seeing new modalities, and I take it away and then regurgitate it, and then we then create a model. And that's one of my things that I'm good at. But when it comes down to some of the other things like the proofreading and all those sorts of stuff, I'm terrible at it. So I've actually learned to be able to outsource that quite quickly and get it done much faster.
And actually, that outsourcing, that is a muscle that you've developed. So kudos to you. But if people, one of the reasons I find that people don't have a marketing mindset is that they're not confident that they can convert enough of their leads, that they lack the soft skills. So they need a who, which is like a Steve Jensen Impact Training Corporation, to help implement the systems and the skills to do it. Let's have a quick look at how all this works. So who, not how, really contradicts what we learned at school, which is that you have to learn to do everything yourself to pass exams. You don't cheat and you don't get help. You are sitting there in the desk, whether it's in primary school, high school, university, and you don't have the opportunity to ask anybody for help. And this is a mindset that we grew up with. It was drilled into us that you have to be there in the exam, to do it all for yourself. But when it gets into business, this mindset is it's unhelpful, at least at the very minimum. Now, Steve, this morning I've got some examples I wanted to share, some business examples, real life business examples. We've got Afterpay, and who hasn't seen that in the stores, developed by some Kiwi guys. the Chicago Bulls, for those sports fan, and Kayla, who's got her incredible $500 million, like, can I say that again? $500 million sweat thing. Now, we're going to be talking about, there's Michael Jordan. Who was his who? We'll talk about that shortly. Who was the who for Kayla? And who was the who for Afterpay? These guys. As a matter of fact, if anybody's watching this and you like podcasts, Richard Tatunji did a fantastic job of interviewing. This is a rare interview, but it's absolutely worth listening to. If you go to Muscle Up Marketing podcast, he interviewed, Toby, who was the who behind Kayla. So absolutely worth listening to. Good on you, Richard. So now let's have a look at this Afterpay. Now I think it's valued at something like $90 million or something ridiculous like that. And so they found a company who could develop their app. So, and the Dovetail app developers tell the deal that a good idea married with deep domain knowledge is all that's needed to build a successful tech startup. Someone else who can build the tech. So these guys who are now trillionaires, worth absolutely squillions, they were not coders. They've developed this incredible, software app and things like that, but they didn't know how to do it. They found a who called Dovetail to do it for them. So they really, instead of asking themselves, how do we develop an app? They said, who can do it for us? Now, Steve, have you ever watched basketball?
Yeah, every now and then I do. Yes, absolutely.
Now, there is an incredible series on Netflix. Now, what is it called? The Last Dance, I think it's called. A story of Michael Jordan. Now, he joined the Chicago Bulls in 1984. MVP, most valued player and stuff like that. But, and he immediately started asking himself, how do we win the championship? Because they failed in 1984 to win the championship. Then in 1985, again, even though they had America's most valuable player, they failed to win the championship. Then in 1986, again, they failed to win the championship. Most people don't know how many times Michael Jordan failed. In 1987, they kept on asking, how can we win the championship? And they failed. So Michael Jordan and his team failed. And then in 1988, they failed because they kept on. You can see the delay here. They failed. Then in 1989, they asked the question, who? And they recruited the coach, legendary coach, Phil Jackson, who wasn't just a coach, he was a mentor, just like you're a mentor to lots of people, Steve. And then Scotty, so Phil Jackson said, Michael playing by himself does not work. He needs a good defense. And they recruited Scottie Pippen. And that was in 1990. And guess what happened then? In 1991, they won the NBA championship. In 1992, they won the NBA championship. In 1993, they won the NBA championship. A few things went wrong. And then they asked themselves the question again. Who? They needed a new center. So they recruited Dennis Rodman. Guess what happened after that? They won another championship. Then they won another championship. Then they won another championship. Are you getting the message? So when they were asking, how do we win? How do we win? They were asking the wrong question. They should have asked, who? Who's going to help us? So it was an entirely different mindset.
So it's actually putting it into perspective for a club, a business, or whatever the case may be. You might have phenomenal people in there, but they might not have the skill sets and haven't got the things that are required. So you've ultimately have got to change your people or get those people to drive what they're good at, but get people that are good at what you need. So finding who do I need to find that can maybe complement who we already have, or where do we need to make the changes to make sure that our great product or service gets a significant amount of leads, well, that might work, but if we got poor conversion, we need to get, well, who's going to convert? I know a lot of businesses in the past have done extremely well with marketing. However, their conversion of those leads was poor. And we've got other businesses that's phenomenal at closing, but they don't have enough volume, and they burn out their salespeople and say, go out and prospect. And they are the wrong who to go and prospect. Salespeople like talking to people.
Absolutely. And you know, lessons, a takeaway from what you just said for me was, you know, whoever's in charge, which is either the coach of the team, they need to know the numbers of each player, and they need to be willing to change players, you know. And you know, coaches of every professional, it doesn't matter what team you follow, now and then they say, look, unfortunately we've got to drop this player and bring in this player, you know, because we are numbers orientated. It's all about winning. And so it's not like when we're at school, give everybody a chance, which is great, and that's fantastic. But it is all, particularly when it comes to the professional sports, it's all about the winning, and they monitor the numbers. You know, they're passing, you know, in netball, you know, how many times they get in the hoop. That's how they determine who the goal shooter is. So, but they need to know the numbers, and they need to be willing to do that. And one lesson I learned is when you're saying goodbye to a player, do it with a positive intention for them, that one day you know, next week, next month, next year, next decade, you'll bump into them and they will say, g'day, you know, it was painful at the time, but it was the best thing that could have happened to me, you know. And if you do that with a positive intention, it can really work out well, and that can give you the courage to have those tough conversations. So let's move on. I've got some more things to share, getting better at this PowerPoint here. So let's see where we go. There we go.
Elliot, mate.
There we go. So here's the challenge. If you're dreaming big, you can set goals and then you can take action. But if you don't manage this, if you're constantly asking yourself, how, what happens is you let go of those goals. So, and people can write this down, they can do a screen share. When you identify any what that could grow your business right now, what is it? What is the constraint? What is the what? But the things that stops you doing the what is the how. You just don't know how to do Facebook ad campaigns or paid traffic or whatever it is. Go looking for who. Go looking for somebody who's already achieving that, or who masters that, who specializes in that, and you're going to achieve a far quicker result. Now, sometimes you say, oh, but I don't have the money to recruit that expert. They're so expensive. There's lots of different ways you can delegate. You can recruit. You know, those in franchising, they you know, people who bought a franchise, they may not have known how to do the business system, so they bought a franchise, or they licensed a program. I mean, how many clubs license the Les Mills international programs or the Radical programs, you know, Group X programs, you know, so that instead of asking how do we just, you know, choreograph all these programs to give a consistent experience to our members, they just simply ask who. They license those programs. People license our Dietflex program. Or you could joint venture with people or outsource. Outsourcing is a new skill. And Steve, I know that you're pretty good at outsourcing, aren't you?
Absolutely. I've many years ago in business, I knew that I was very good at a few things and absolutely awful at many. So I like to learn about it, but for me to create a landing page and to do all that sort of stuff, or create all those types of technology stuff, I like to learn about it, but there's no way in sundry I will go through that pain and trying to do it myself. I've done it as most people have, but what I'm hearing here very strongly is find out what you need, but then when you find out what you need to then find out who's going to do it, because and it's lots of people say it, work within your genius. And if you work within your genius, you can be much more beneficial to your company, to your people, and then get other people. Now, ultimately, as you said, might be a problem with money, But the money that you'll spend that you don't value your own hourly rate as a leader or a manager, if you say you're doing a job that you could pay someone less than what you're worth, that's a false economy.
And for many entrepreneurs, one of the big prices they pay is they simply don't get to spend time with their family.
Correct.
You know, they're working under this mindset, in order to make more money, I've got to work harder, you know, rather than saying, how can I make, you know, a well-oiled machine that has the ability to grow, you know. I've got a few more things to share, so hopefully this is making sense. So, so it all came from this book, Who Not How, and you know, you can order it from Amazon.com.au. Actually, they're out of print here in Australia, but I'm sure it'll come back into print, or you can go you can order it on Kindle with a free Kindle reader on any computer. You don't need a Kindle reader, or Audible if you like listening to books. As a matter of fact, I think a sad reality is today, with the growth of social media, or the addictiveness of it, the poker machine addictiveness of it, is that many people have lost the ability not to read, but to read a book. You know, many people, they can read, but they cannot read a book. They can't allocate the time. And you've really got to switch off your phone, go into a quiet place, you know, to be able to do that.
I believe that when you read a book, it's funny you should say that, because many years ago I found that look, I love to read a book, but I was finding I'm a slow reader. I'm a person that reads one word at a time. Now, some of you guys probably read a sentence at a time, maybe a paragraph at a time, but I actually read a word at a time. And because I'm a little bit perfectionist orientated, I'll go back and read it again just in case. It takes me a long time. I found that getting the audio books was really great because someone read it to me and I used to highlight my stuff. But I also found buying the unabridged summaries was an incredible good way of recapping the book. And I've got a rule I'll share with you just on books. Don't read a book once. Read a book once for entertainment. Read a book for learning with outcome orientation. Read a chapter, what am I going to do? But you've got to read it at least 3 to 6 times. People say, I've read How to Influence and Influence People. Great, good to say. What have you done with it? And it's the action after the book that makes the difference. And sometimes you'll read a marketing book, and I'm hearing this very clearly today, Jamie. You might say, gee, I could do that. Maybe it's good that you know what to do, then find out who should do it. That'll save you a ton of time.
Yes, my dear fitness friend Richard Shoes says, Jamie, you read too many books. And I think he's right. I think your advice is better. Find the good books, the classics, and read them multiple times, you know, and they'll come back and revisit and say, I forgot that. And also, when you're reading a book, mark it up.
Yes.
Write your notes in it, you know, and that adds value to the book, you know. As a matter of fact, when I give people a book, I often give them a red pen and a yellow highlighter, and I said, I want you to scribble your name. They say, oh, I couldn't do that. But I say, you've got to get in the habit of doing that, you know. Now, so let's do, I'm going to now actively practice Who Not How to better articulate what is in this book. Let's take a leaf out of what you were saying, and let's just read sentence by sentence some of the most meaningful sentences in, I think it's chapter 2 of the book. Let's go and have a look. So, paradoxically, procrastination is actually a form of wisdom. Procrastination is a psychological phenomenon that occurs when you really want something more for yourself, but you lack the knowledge and capability of doing it. And then he goes on, what procrastination means is that your goal or ambition is great. It's something you'd like for yourself, but you're not the right person to execute the plan to achieve it, at least not right now. You need a who to get through whatever stage you're in, because at the moment you're clearly not the who in possession of the needed knowledge or capability. If you were, you wouldn't be procrastinating. So procrastination is actually wisdom if you listen to it. Like, look at yourself procrastinating and say, aha, I need a who. If you don't listen, then procrastination leads to misery and mediocrity. And procrastination is a very powerful signal There's time for you to get another who involved. And it goes on. You're stuck. You need help. The question is, will you find that help or just sit by yourself? The bigger your personal ambition, the more procrastination you'll experience. Everyone who's ambitious procrastinate. It's part of having big goals that stretch far beyond you. But for most people, procrastination never leads to creating the result. Instead, it leads to inaction, regret, and frustration. And once there's a lack of progress and confidence, soon ambition is lost forever. Steve, you never want to have on your tombstone, they had great potential. You only have two options when you procrastinate. The first and most common approach is to ask yourself, how do I do this? This generally leads to more procrastination. You're asking how is the question society and our public education system have trained us to ask the moment we have a goal or desire. Oh, you've got to go and do a course, get a degree, 3 years of study. The second, the more effective option, is to simply shift the question to who can help me with this? By doing so, you can stop procrastinating and feel discouraged. And then finally, instead, you can experience an injection of energy, confidence, and creativity. Another powerful variation of this question could be, who can achieve this goal for me? Who has the skills, knowledge, connections, and expertise to get this done ASAP, ASAP, as soon as possible? Asking who is the automatic response you need to develop every time you think of a new goal or desire. By asking this new and better question, you'll start to make immediate progress to even bigger goals. You'll have access to someone else's time, knowledge, connections, and capability. You'll stop being limited by yourself. Applying who not now and thus killing procrastination requires two essential steps. One, be radically explicit about your goals. Know what you want to achieve. Write them down. Put some numbers, some dates on it. And ask yourself, who can help me accomplish this goal? So they are the words of Benjamin Hardy.
I reckon that's awesome, because I think a lot of people in marketing in particular, now, you know this better than anybody because you're so learned in so many aspects of business, and it's taken you a lifetime to learn them. However, you really do enjoy some parts of the business, and then you work in sufferance on some of the others, like we all do when we're an entrepreneur or a business owner. But what I'm hearing here is that if we want to have success in our sales, and we need to get more leads and qualified leads and volume of leads, learn what you need to do, but then outsource and find someone that can do it, that's in your team, or in our case, we go to people that are much cleverer than us that can actually do it for us. That's either do it for us or do it with us, one of the two. And I think a big loud shout out to everybody out there that's listening. Are you the right person to be doing your marketing?
Absolutely. Good question. Because what precedes sales is sales conversations. We spoke about that before. What precedes sales conversations is leads. You know,
so it's actually going out there and finding somebody that's doing it. Now, look, I know you don't spook yourself at all, Jamie, but you a number of years ago, you created,
I'm going to. Don't you worry.
because you created a magnificent model that you went through a lot of time and money to learn how to do, just like building something, and then it fails, and then all of a sudden then you started creating this model, and you created a model that goes out to the market with paid traffic and created qualified leads in the top of the funnel, but nurtured it incredibly quickly. It comes out the back end. Now, that takes a lot of time and money for someone to learn how to do that. But you now have got a formula that is working. And I was speaking to one of your confidants and success stories just the other day, and was saying that he was getting so many leads and sales that he had to turn it off because he didn't have enough people to do the conversion, didn't want to burn them. So you've actually created this model, and it might be prudent for letting people to know how if they can contact you and see if they can get hold of this lead generating machine, because then they don't have to they'll know what they want, but they don't need to know how to do it. They'll just maybe get you to help them, and then they can get the fruits to convert.
Easy as pie. Now I've got a 100% money back guarantee coming up, and I'm going to provide all those details. Let's look at some numbers though. Uh, so this is working out well, thanks, Steve. So, firstly, and Steve, you've heard me offer this before. I think this is so influential. If somebody goes and buys this book, reads the whole lot, puts their marks and notes in it, and they feel like, Jamie, you completely wasted my time getting this book. This is absolute rubbish. What like that? Send me the book. I'll send you the money. So that's a 100% money back guarantee. So I'm so confident. It was like, it's as powerful as the E-Myth or the E-Myth Revisited or the 1 Minute Manager. Super, super powerful books. Because you absolutely need a new mindset to get new results. So, and what I want to ask is, what is the number one thing that could grow your new membership sales? What is it? If you didn't change anything, you just changed one thing. And if we look at that sales funnel, we've got leads and inquiries. Then we've got sales conversations. We want to grow sales and we want to grow direct debit. Well, you have to be pouring leads and inquiries into the top of the funnel so that you end up with more sales conversations. And Steve, you've just said it's all about conversations. I like to say to club owners, I said, could you pick up the phone and ring your club? And then ask whoever answers the phone, say, how's business? And they're going to say it's fine. And then you want to ask, do we have any appointments booked for today? And they'll say, we don't know. And you'll say, could you check in the diary? Oh, let me get it. And it should be right in front of them. And they say, we don't have any appointments. And so business ain't fine. So then the business owner can say, are you making the phone call to the list we provided that's sitting right in front of you to help book appointments? So, and every club, every business should have an appointment goal, the number of appointments they need based on their sales conversion to hit their sales target for the week or the month.
Absolutely. And it's a matrix that they should be saying, hi guys, how's your weekend? How many appointments have we got? Ultimately, if we've got a high show rate, terrific. If it's a poor show rate, we can fix the problem with either what the engagement conversation was. But if you haven't got the leads that are qualified, and we talked about this last time, having qualified leads that have quality conversations, then that conversion is going to be poor. So people think conversion is closing the sale. I don't believe that's the case. I think the conversion is having a what's next mentality to make sure what happens, what's next. So what's next? What's going to happen? It could be a booked appointment. Well, does that show? That's a conversion. And if it's a booked appointment, did they show? That's a conversion. And then we then say, well, what happens there? You might send a proposal, or you might get a close, or get an NSR. That's a conversion. So, but we can't have that, Jamie, unless we have qualified leads.
Absolutely. So let's have a look at getting qualified leads. You're always giving me a big tip, aren't you? What to say next, which is fantastic. So, Steve, you remember these days, a typical small gym had an ad budget, maybe $2,500 a month, which means in order to hit their sales target, they would have to spend that. And they would do things like letterbox campaigns, lead boxes, and salespeople were out, putting out these lead boxes, clearing the leads. And let's say that they got 30 sales that were directly attributed to the marketing. How do we know that? We simply ask the question. If you don't mind me asking, how did you find out about us? So the cost per sale is $80. Let's say they have an inquiry to sales ratio of 50%. Steve, would that be about right, 50%?
Yeah, that'd be right.
Okay, which means the cost per lead was $40. And on top of this, info calls and walk-ins are freebies. And you and I know, you simply cannot optimize a business relying on freebies.
Yeah, so a lot of businesses rely on this walk-in traffic, and it's absolutely catastrophic.
Or even if that's all the business did, but they added an extra 30 sales per month. I mean, at any rate, depending upon the contract term or the average lifetime of the value, that would add hundreds of thousands of dollars to the business. It would absolutely change it overnight, helping them reinvest in equipment, reinvest in training, buy extra, build extra locations. If we look at Facebook ads to achieve the same thing, 30 sales attributable to a Facebook ad funnel, cost per sale $80, inquiry to sales ratio 50%, cost per lead $40. So these sorts of numbers are also achievable with online, paid traffic ads. So here's the big question. If you'd like to chat about adding an untapped market to your business, leveraging your team, because right now a lot of team are on job seeker, they're at home, they're not working, getting up to 10 extra sales per week, decreasing vulnerability to lockdown, flexing your who, not how muscles, like Steve, you've developed to do, then there is my contact details. So it's super simple. Just reach out and we can help you practice who, not how. Overcome procrastination so that you can generate more leads for your business, more appointments, and generate more sales.
This is music to my ears, Jamie, because a lot of time when we do training, we train somebody, got to do follow-up, help do a little bit of role play in our world. We do PDR, practice, drill, rehearse, and that's where we get the outcome. We learn by doing. That's if you're doing. I'm hearing it loud and clear, and as I said, it's music to my ears, that we have an expert that actually created a model, and you actually are happy to just have a chat with somebody to say, hang on a tick, this is what you need to do. You got two choices. You can actually find someone to do it for you, and do it yourself on that side, or we can do it for you. So I think every opportunity starts with the conversation. And if we don't have the conversation, we always have the what if. And I think it's really a great that you're saying that I know how busy you are. And for people who listen to this, please take Jamie up on his opportunity. I will put it in the text above the replay. So reach out on email. Jamie responds very swiftly, and organize to have a 15-minute chin wag on find out if Jamie has some of the opportunities to give you the who.
And Steve, just in case people got this niggling feeling, oh, I still want to do my own thing, I still want to learn the how, and so I'm in control, I say take advantage of us, take advantage of me. So, we've got a weight control program, that your people can implement fast. You can use ours, and then when you develop yours, you drop off ours. We've got the Facebook ads and Facebook ad management processes and sales funnel. You can use ours. When you learn to do it yourself, you drop us off and you do it itself. We've got the online course programs, to train the coaches, train the salespeople, to give you leverage to deliver the course to members and things like that. But you may want to develop your own courses, so take advantage of us, use us and make the sales, learn the lessons, go develop your own thing, which might be a year or 2 years down the road. It took me 6 months at least to get proficient in our sales funnel software, Infusionsoft, and then with our course software. It was stupid of me to do that. I should have done what you did and said, instead of me learning how to do that, I should have simply found a who, but we've got all that, so people who are still inclined after all this message to say, oh yeah, but I want to do it myself my way. Take advantage of us, get the extra sales while you're learning all the who's, years later, I know that some of our successful partners would just absolutely laugh at the proposition. They wouldn't dream of trying to reinvent it themselves. They just, not many clubs who run, Radical or Les Mills would dream of saying to their Group X team, look, I want you to choreograph all these programs, for our team. They wouldn't dream of it. Yeah.
Now, well, look, I've seen it happen for the last 30 plus years. People actually say, oh, I could do it myself. The majority of them fail, Jamie, and it's not because they're dumb or they're stupid or they can't get it completed. It's not their area of genius. And I believe in this area of marketing, especially this area that you've specialized in. And guys, this is social proof. I've seen the numbers of the leads that Jamie has created for his tribe. It is quite significant. I'm talking hundreds of these leads, not over 2 or 3 months, but it's, you know, every single week and month they're actually pouring in, and the conversion, not just to a product, a simple product, but multiple products, are incredibly high because of the qualification models. And now you're very clever with your words and how to create call to actions. But look, a simple conversation for 15 minutes might change your destiny. And it might actually start planning for my January and February, because we are in November. People say, "I would just start planning for December." My wish and my, let's say, call to action is start planning for January to February now, because you'll have this sabbatical over the Christmas period, and then you'll have to start scurrying for January, February. If you had a conversation with Jamie and have a listen to what he has to say and ask him your questions, you might have an action plan that actually will reduce your stress and reduce your costs and make you more money. So you got the freedom to have the choices that most people want. So
also, Steve, we facilitate a mastermind because we've got like-minded operators all asking themselves the same question, saying, you know, what's going to be my killer campaign for January and February and things like that. And so we're masterminding that so that they're all contributing, you know, their experience and ideas, which is fantastic to have that, really talented mastermind group happening.
That's good, because I think it's always good to try and find people who are doing it, but sometimes it's difficult to find them. So, but when you've got an inner circle, it's great. So I think this is just really music, as I said, to my ears, because a lot of people say, do this and go to Facebook and do that and create this and so forth. I scratch my head and I go, I'd prefer you to do it, and I'll do what I do best. So guys, reach out to Jamie. I'll put the email in the notes, and reach out, have a 15-minute conversation and explore the possibilities. Wow.
And Steve, thanks for the opportunity this morning, and I hope this little message about this little book makes a big difference to those people watching this video.
I think it's been invaluable, and I love the way that we're talking now, because it's about not just saying you should. And I've got a bit of a flag to wave about that. I'm a little bit disappointed, and also a little bit tired of hearing people telling people what they should do. No one's actually saying, give me a call, contact me, and I'll help you. And what you're saying is do exactly that. So thanks, Jamie. Outstanding. Heaps and heaps of gold.
Steve, it's absolutely a pleasure. Have a great day.
Okay. All right, gang. What did you learn from that? Hope it was about find out what you want and find out who to do it. Are you a superstar at marketing? If that's your genius, you just love it, then get someone to do your ops, get someone to do your management and your book work, go for gold. But if you're not, and if you're not, you're a gun sales professional, you just love doing the close or going through the models, you might be phenomenal operations. Do that damn well, and then find someone that can do the things that you require. Find out your who. Call Jamie, contact on the email, take some action. I'd love to know some of the outcomes. I talk to Jamie every week, so I will hear about it. So thanks for joining us today. I want to see some major goals. Bye for now.